So we're going to show your status report so you can walk us through.
Perfect.
And if the team has any questions or clarifications, that'd be great. And then
Okay.
at the very end, if they have anything that you specifically need us to focus on moving in the second semester, we'll be ready to do it. So I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Okay. So the first support was around ESS. And my reflection on that is I think we're really making good strides with our mild mod program. I think I overestimated the readiness of our mild mod teachers. And so um, it's been great to work closely with Patrick and Angela um, to just kind of figure out where those adult learners are and what our vision is and where we need them to be, and just working in incremental steps. We have a stronger plan moving into second quarter that includes ensuring that both teachers are part of PLCs. There were some scheduling conflicts with one of them, so working with Angela to overcome that. And then making sure that we're having data conversations together. So one thing that I learned is that ESS would have data conversations with mild mod teachers, but Rachel and I were not a part of those. And so starting in January, we're going to be in attendance on those monthly meetings. Also just getting some clarity on our end as to what the data expectations are for students with disabilities in the programming. So I think Rachel and I have been learning a lot with Patrick and Angela, and then using that knowledge to help us figure out what our next steps need to be. I would say with our DLC program, we are at the right numbers now. We're at a 2-to-1 ratio, which is incredible and very generous, actually, of Rachel Browning and her team. So I appreciate that. Now that we kind of have that straightened out and we have the right numbers and the right student to staff ratio, I guess, we're really ready to start working on instruction. And so I think there are still some next steps. One thing that I'm going to ask for is that Andrea Mann come and meet with Rachel Sellers and I on a regular basis so that we really clearly understand the instructional model of that DLC room and the expectations around data collection and progress monitoring of IEP goals. Let's see. Moving on to the lead teaching partner. Lori's been terrific. She's really been focused on ELA and our work there. And we still see in our data that we have a long way to go with ELA, but we have some mid-course corrections that we're going to make. And so Lori and I will connect around that and how we can use her support to strengthen our system and not just working with that teaching partner. Let's see. Yeah, so Lori has been terrific. We've had our critical triangle meetings with her, and so some of those structures that are set up that make it really easy for us to connect and touch base periodically is terrific. One just small thing that I actually just added last night, we're trying to leverage some data points, like we use iReady for our SLOs for licensed staff, and that doesn't really work in kindergarten. And so I've been asking some folks in DOEL and then Lori Stack as well, what would be some rigorous goals that we can set around PALS data for our kindergartners, because that is such a critical piece of data in that it determines if students go on read plans or not. So I really want to leverage that with teachers through the evaluation process, but I'm just not sure what those targets would be for students at different starting points. Moving on to assessment literacy, I think we're fine with that. We had the training in the spring, and then doing our own internal DDI process with the math interim has allowed us just in kind of almost one-on-one or three-on-one settings with teachers to just learn more and more about the reports as we sit together and learn about that. One thing that we have not yet been able to do, and I think this might be what EduClimber is designed to do, is to look at students across data sets. So I know we can compare in how students performed on interim 1 to interim 2, but we're really curious about students with disabilities, students that have been in program for CLDE for a long time. How does iReady compare with how kids are performing on interim? And we just don't have that quite streamlined yet. So that's something that we're interested in learning about to just make that data piece happen a little more smoothly. Moving on to MTSS supports. I'll talk specifically about attendance. Jamila has been a terrific support as we're trying to get that online. As you know, with many buildings, we don't have like an attendance person on our staff, and so it kind of is a second duty for many people. And so helping people just to understand the importance of this and create systems that allow this work to happen consistently and systematically, really, that we have specific points in time where we stop and we send letters or certain things that would trigger a home visit. So getting that system online. We just met this morning actually, and I feel a lot better about the work, but our attendance rate is way too low. Our chronic and moderate and at risk, I think our chronic and moderate, we're at about 30%, which is way too much. So we have some good next steps moving into January and even some things people are going to tomorrow. So in terms of learning walks with ICs and other instructional experts, just having that weekly time with Carol is terrific. Carol is a great coach in that she leaves space and time for me to problem solve through some of my leadership challenges or unique situations that come up where I really just need the advice of an experienced principal or principal manager. And then we also prioritize time being in classrooms. We're sitting in PLCs. And so I really appreciate that. And she always has a next step. I think it's how she shows love, and I appreciate that. So my thinking is stretched every time she's in the building. And then Schools by Design, that wasn't an indicated support. It was something that I had talked about in my initial request. And it's really just comes down to us trying to find more and more ways to be together as a staff in professional learning. So I don't know that there's an easy solution to that, but I'm curious to see how the negotiations come out and how the contract looks next year and how that might give us more time. And then we continue to problem solve in the building around how do we get more creative about how to engage in the professional learning that we need at Virginia Court. So I think that's it. Really appreciate all of the support that we have received. One other shout out I'll give right now. I just met with my preschool facilitator in a post-observation conference, and she talked about how supportive Amy Wallen has been in helping her as a brand new facilitator really feel like she's gaining the skills she needs to work with our 3- and 4-year-olds. So I appreciate Amy's weekly support of Hannah in that way. So I think that's it.
All right, so for the team, do you all have any specific questions or clarifications? So Kim, next steps for us, any specific requests outside of what you've already communicated?
I don't think so. I think Carol will tell you I'm pretty forthcoming about asking for the things that I need, so I'll continue to do so. But I feel like people have been pretty responsive as things come up. I think that one thing about PALS would, there's some timeliness to it, where really SLOs have time restraints, and so we need to get going on that and make sure that we have those correct targets for teachers. So that would be one thing that I have been asking about and have not yet received an answer. But I would say everything else that I've asked for, I get a pretty quick response.
All right. Well, thank you. I wish I could take credit for what Carol's doing there, but that's not strategic for me. That's embedded. So I can't own that one. She's doing a great job with you. So thanks for that. We'll keep pushing forward. And if you would, just update the status report for us.
Yes.
So we can follow along, and when we circle back, it gives us a chance to see if we're moving and making progress. All right?
Absolutely. It's on my calendar to do weekly now, so you'll see that coming up. Okay?
Thanks a bunch.
Great. Thank
Bye.
you.